So what are some of the most unanticipated big problems that you are encountering as you're talking to all your current customers and new customers?
Yeah, it's a really great question. Um, I think what I would say the biggest one is just the silo of Web3 knowledge within the average enterprise organization. And I think we have to do two jobs. We have to ensure that the Web3 team understands in their kind of native tongue how this is solving their objectives, and then we have to speak more plain language around what is the ROI, what is the practical application and use case of this technology with without any of the Web3 jargon. So I think I don't know if that's a great answer to your question, but I think that's probably one of the biggest things is just having to wear a couple of different hats, sometimes even on the same call, to be able to speak natively to the Web3 folks and also um, you know speak in more Web2 terms to the rest of the folks as well.
I mean, it kind of begets the bigger problem here, which is that, whenever you're talking about this space to anyone, there's a certain level of education that you have to provide as a preface, right? And there will be people that naturally got swept up into Web3 through various ways, like me and you, that will have general knowledge about it and really believe in it. But on top of the fact that you have to sell the business on this is a good strategy, it's like, well, wait, WTF is Web3 anyways? Like, what is an NFT? A
Yeah.
non-fungible token? Like, I didn't know what fungible was before I started doing this. Like, oh, I get it now. Interchangeable. Okay, cool. Right? Like, there's a lot of jargon that you have to learn to get a base level of knowledge in this area. And as someone who's supporting marketing organizations, honestly, it's probably a good thing that you have to educate them internally, because guess what? The general public's going to have just the same questions, right? They're gonna
Yep.
say, "You're telling me a meta what? A meta mask? Like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about? Are you talking about Facebook? Like, so there's just like, I guess it's like almost good practice to be able to go in to the different teams and be able to change the words you're using to explain what the end goal is, which is basically just to increase customer engagement, retention, new customer acquisition. Like, all those goals are the same, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
guess what? People have been gamifying this shit forever, right? This just gives you a whole new level of being able to gamify it and adding rarity and scarcity and like all these new interactive components of it.
Totally. And two other like really tangible things that came to me while you were saying that are one, this idea people understand that NFTs can function as a ticket, a membership, a key to unlock XYZ. You start to really cross wires for people when you start talking about tradability as like the one of the things that actually makes this novel. Otherwise, why even do it in the first place? And so you'll hear a lot of questions about, well, can we make it so they're not tradable? And it's like, yes, but that you're kind of just defeating the purpose. Like, why not just do a Web2 membership?
Yeah.
So that's number one. And number two is community building. And I mentioned this earlier, but for most brands, even if they have a fan base, community building is just not a muscle that they really have today. And so, one of my bold predictions is that, hey, if any of this actually takes off as I believe it will, and that this new style of loyalty program is adopted in earnest, there is a multiplayer component to it. There is a community oriented component to loyalty programs, and that hasn't existed before. And so it's not just like Web3 terms and terminology, but it's like building muscle and also helping brands see the value in what it actually takes to build a successful community. You can say on the surface, yeah, I want to build community. Sure, that sounds great. But in reality, it's really hard. It takes talented, dedicated, focused people to manage a Discord, let alone in other sort of grassroots ways that you might want to, engage your customer base and your super fans. So I think those are two other ones that come to mind. Are just like we start crossing wires sometimes when we talk about making these things tradable and building community, and why that's so core to the ethos of what Web3 is really all about.
Yeah, I mean the financialization aspect is what onboarded most people.
Yep.
Right? Like I love the art, but the fact that I could trade it for more money than I bought it obviously kept me around, and putting a lot more money into it.
Yep.
The interesting thing about the community aspect, which is, all the rage, right? Like, oh, you've got a community you can build, is that for some reason, and I'm sure there are obvious reasons, there's the ability for the community to be directly communicated with like never before, right?
Mm-hmm.
There, by virtue of buying an NFT, you feel like you almost like the next step in someone's head is like, is there a Discord? Is there, a Twitter Spaces that you guys are going to host? Is there, like, before it was kind of like, I'm going to launch a so and so ad on so and so platform and I can prove that I got these kind of eyeballs from these demographics from this area. Now it's like, hey, these people have direct access, right? And so how do I foster this direct access community to make my whole brand stronger? And by the way, that's a double-edged sword, right?
Oh yeah.
As you're seeing with certain brands, whether they're Web3 native or Web2, some people are shutting down Discords
Yeah.
because they can't handle the voluminous amount of conversation and direct access that you get when you put someone high level at a company inside there and make them accessible.
Yeah, it's I have a I have a few examples where a CEO of a company has quite literally told us, like, I'm getting abused in the Discord.
It
And
happens.
it's like they've never had to deal with that before. They're not the person interacting in the chat bot for customer service on their website, you know. So yeah, Discord is another really hot topic that we'll probably run out of time to dig in on today. I'll just say that I think, at Flaunt, our thesis is getting people to show up and hang out and participate in places where they aren't already spending their time is damn near impossible. And so our view is that if community building is a key pillar of your innovation, of your loyalty strategy, and Web3 is involved in that, or whether it is or isn't, that you need to do it in a kind of omni-channel way. You need to do it in a grassroots way and engage people where they already are and want to hang out. And whether that's like private Instagram channels where you interact with people, or Twitter, or wherever, on social or offline that they would want to interact and engage with you, versus trying to throw all of your Web2 audience into Discord and saying, good luck.
I love that approach. I mean, that's one of the biggest problems that I've identified over and over with many different guests and many off-air conversations is like, Web3 thinks that everybody's going to join a Discord. Web3 thinks everybody follows crypto Twitter. Web3 thinks everybody knows what an airdrop is and has a MetaMask. Well, guess what? They don't, right? In fact, 99% of the world will never, ever do a lot of those things.
Yep.
And the big problem that comes from that is like, you aren't meeting people where they are, just like you said, right? Like, people already have a lifestyle. It's just like when you're selling into B2B. Yeah, it'd be really nice for me to have the greatest insights in the world and to launch your product into my world and get all this feedback. But I already have a marketing automation tool. I already have a CRM. I already have all this stuff that I'm living inside of and catering to my audience. How can you integrate it into that so that it becomes a button and not a whole nother solution that I have to do?
Yep. Yep. Great analogy.
Yeah. It comes from a few years of B2B sales.